In recent years, trail cameras have changed how game scouting is done.
That's right, Andrew, and having a trail camera on your property helps identify what game is there and what their movements are.
Okay, each year trail cameras get better in price and quality. And for 2010, Bushnell has added some great improvements to their Trophy Cam line.
The first thing I noticed when I looked at these is how small they are compared to all the other trail cameras out there.
Well, don't let the small size fool you, Katie. Bushnell has added some great advancements for their 2010 line. Now, there's 3 different models of the Trophy Cam. There's 2 brown case ones. Now, one has the LCD screen, and the other one, like this one, has the color view screen. They also have the bone collector camouflage one that has the LCD screen. Now, Katie, the first cool thing about the Trophy Cam is that it runs off of AA batteries. Now, it can either run off of 4 AA batteries in the top slot or run off of 8. Now, if it's running off of 8, it can last up to a whole year on the same set of batteries.
Wow. Well, that's great, Andrew, because anytime I go check my trail camera, I really don't have those size C or D batteries on me, but I always have the AA's, and they're cheaper.
Well, it really is a great improvement, Katie, because these batteries are a lot smaller and easier to carry around. With the size of this camera, you can carry several of these in your backpack when you're out scouting for game.
Well, Andrew, with this being a smaller camera, how good of pictures does it take?
Well, Katie, it has 3 different picture resolution sizes. We have 3 megapixel, 5 megapixel, and all the way up to 8 megapixel. So it can take a wide variety of quality of photos. Now, the better quality means it'll take a better photo, but also take up more space on your SD card. This camera will also take up to 60-second video clip, and there's 3 different resolution sizes for video clips as well.
Now, how good of pictures does it take in the dark?
Okay, that's been a big advancement for the 2010 line of Trophy Cams, and now has 32 infrared LED lights on it.
Wow, that's great. Well, Andrew, I heard you mention something about an SD card a while ago. Now, how big of an SD card do these cameras take?
Okay, that's been a real big improvement for the Trophy Cams. It'll now accept up to a 16 gig SD card, which is really big. So depending on the quality settings of your photos and videos, you can take thousands of photos and take up to hours of video clips as well.
Well, that's huge, because for people who can't get out and check their trail cameras as often, if the batteries last up to a year and you can take that many pictures, you're not missing out on anything.
That's a great point. You don't have to run out there and check it, especially if your property is a long ways away from where you live.
Mm-hmm. With my experience with trail cameras, it seems like the hardest part is just figuring out how to set up the camera.
I know what you mean, Katie. And that's a really big part of setting up trail cameras. You want to make sure all your settings are correct so you can take good photos. Now, the first thing you want to do on the Trophy Cam is make sure that it's off in the off position. Then you can insert your batteries. Now, as I mentioned before, you can just run off of 4 AA's in the top 4 positions, or go ahead and fill the whole thing up. The next thing you want to do is insert your SD card. Now, you're going to want to do that with the label up, and then stick it into the SD card slot here at the bottom, and you'll hear it click. Now, next thing, you want to slide this into setup, but not all the way to on. And it'll take just a little bit for this to turn on. Now, once it's turned on, you can see with the color view image, you can already see through the camera.
That's great.
So next thing you're going to do is go to menu, and on the menu, you can change your mode from camera to video, and to navigate it, just hit the arrows. The next one you can do is change the image size from 3, 5, and 8 megapixel.
Well, what size do you recommend?
Well, 5 is a pretty good one if you're going to be taking a lot of photos. Obviously, 8's better, but with the big size of cards, I mean, you don't really have to go down to 3. A 5 is a pretty good setting.
Okay.
And now the next one we have is capture number. This will be how many pictures it'll take in a row. You can do 1, 2, or 3. Then you can change your video size settings if you're in video mode. You can change your video length from 10 seconds all the way up to 60 seconds. Now, the next screen we come to is interval. And what interval is the time between when the camera takes photos. And that you can change from just a few seconds up to, several minutes. If you're going to be taking a lot of photos, you might want to have a longer interval in between your picture taking. The next one we have is the sensor level, and that's the sensor level for the motion detector on the front of the camera. I think normal is a pretty good one. Otherwise, it might set off when the wind blows.
Mm-hmm.
Next one we have is format your card. You don't have to change anything on your TV output. And you can also change your timestamp, whether or not you want the time and date. Now, that's really something I recommend having on here, because you want to know what time of night, animals are coming through, so you know when animals are moving on your property. And you also go through and set the clock. And if you don't like any of the settings, you can always go back to the default settings of the camera. Now, to get out of this, just hit the menu button.
Well, that seems simple enough, and Bushnell does a really great job with their instruction manuals, so it'll take you step by step on how to set up the camera.
Yeah, that's true, Katie. It is probably the easiest camera I've ever set up. Now that we've got our settings like we want with our quality settings and we're on camera mode, let's go ahead and take this out and set it up in the field.
All right, let's go. Now, Andrew, when you're going to set up your trophy cam, what do you look for as a good location for setting up the camera?
Okay, what I like to do is set the camera where I know animals are going to pass by, whether it be on a logging road, maybe a food plot, scrape, mineral site, or wherever. You know, we got a logging road right here in front of us. Let's go ahead and set this camera right here. Now, Katie, the Trophy Cam comes with its own tree strap here, but another thing you might want to go ahead and purchase is the Bushnell mounting bracket for trees. Now, this one will give you a lot more diversity of how you can mount it on tree size, and you can also mount the camera on a tripod if you want to set it out in the middle of the field. Now, one thing I like to do in site preparation for setting up a camera is clearing out any limbs that might be in the way, because when the wind gets to blowing, limbs going in front of this might set it off. Now, another great feature of the color view model is, say you set the camera up, go ahead, turn it on, walk by it a few times, make sure your height and angle of the camera is good. So it's time to take pictures, you're not just taking like the bottom half of the deer, so you know the camera's set up at the right height.
Well, Andrew, you know, with all of these advancements in the Trophy Cam, with the use of the AA batteries and the use of the larger SD cards, these cameras are definitely a must-have product.
For more information on the Bushnell Trophy Cams, to watch this segment again, and to find out where you can buy your very own Trophy Cam, log on to musthaveoutdoors.com.